Hello, and we are live on Facebook. Pardon my delay there. I was looking over to see whether or not we were live and forgot that we were live. Hi, this is Paul Hoyt, your host and the CEO of Ascending Harvest. Thanks for tuning in to this daily update.
There, I was looking over to see whether or not we were live. Forgot that we were.
Hang on. We're having a little audio challenge here.
There
But
we
we
go.
are currently live on Facebook because I just heard myself talking with a few seconds delay. And that technology wizard who is on the other guy on the screen is Shane McKenna, my business partner, the founder, the genius behind all of the technology we have here at Ascending Harvest. Say hello to the folks, Shane.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to say I'm behind the farming technology, not the live broadcasting technology.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's true. And that, by the way, that is a bit of a challenge. You know, I'm an old dog. That's a new trick. I'm still able to learn new tricks, but live streaming on Facebook pages and automatically sharing to different Facebook pages and groups and recording the video and turning it into something that's uploaded to our YouTube channel and all that stuff is still a little bit new to me. I'm going to hang on just a second while I share this with one more group. But if you're listening to this and you're listening live, which we'd love for you to do, please come to Ascending Harvest Facebook page and let us know that you're there. Give us a comment, say hello, ask a question. We'd like for this to be as interactive as we possibly can, which would be very cool. So hang on just a second. I'm going to share this with one more group that I want to share that with, and we're going to start talking about the things that we want to talk about today. And there we go. So we love to start off these presentations with a little slight introduction to Ascending Harvest and who we are and what we're doing. In our first daily podcast that we did last Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was, we did talk about the what and the why a lot, so I don't want to repeat that because it took us 20 minutes. But at a high level, Ascending Harvest is a humanitarian venture to put farming / gardening / growing systems in the hands of families who need it the most, families in developing countries, families in refugee camps. We're leveraging the Shane's genius in creating these fantastic systems to help people grow their own food to escape the cycle of poor nutrition and poverty. And we believe that we can really make a ding in the universe, as Steve Jobs said, that we can make a huge difference. We kind of see a future where we're putting hundreds of thousands or millions of these systems in the hands of families to empower them to grow their own food. So we're very, very excited about that. Go to our website at ascendingharvest.com. Sign up so you can get progress updates and more information. Go to our Facebook page at facebook.com/ascendingharvest. Like that page and follow us there. We really want you on our team because together I think we can make a huge difference in the lives of millions of people around the world.
Yeah, I'm reminded as you gave that wonderful synopsis of what we're about, I'm reminded of what our friend Abraham Tinklepaw said. He said, why would you want people to feed themselves?
Yeah.
It's such an obvious solution.
It is. It is such an obvious solution. And, with your technology, your downloaded technology, insight, gift from above or beyond or wherever, it really is possible for us to make a huge, huge, huge dent in that. I see ourselves delivering very low cost, highly effective, very simple growing systems, to millions and millions of families all around the world, which excites me.
Yeah, I agree. And, I just want to touch on something that you said, my download. And I do believe that this is a spiritual journey, and the path of my life and the accumulated knowledge and experience put me in this place that the universe could say, hey, Shane, here is a solution. Take it and run with it.
Yeah. I see that too. And I see, myself with a similar one, that all these years of business experience that I've accumulated, I can now leverage to the benefit of humanity by teaming with you to make this company happen and happen well. So,
And my further point is that we all have that, I believe.
yeah.
I believe we all have that accumulation of knowledge and experiences. And some of those experiences we might not have chosen, but if we'll look at what they're teaching us, they are also preparing us to make these great journeys that can actually add value back through our experience of this life that we get to share.
Well said, my friend. True wisdom. True wisdom. I'm going to carry on here, and we're going to talk a little bit about progress. Just in the last 24 hours, we have updated our YouTube channel, and we have established a Twitter account. The Twitter account was a little bit more difficult to do than the YouTube. For whatever reason, I don't know why, Twitter didn't believe that I was over 13 years old. And I had to prove it to them twice. They didn't like my passport, so I had to send them, my passport and my driver's license. I mean, most people, they just take one look at me and they say, I think that guy's over 13. But Twitter had a problem with that. They had to really, get in there and take a closer look to see whether or not that was true. But they finally did, so now we have a Twitter account, and that is, you can look it up on Twitter to Ascending Harvest. It's a little bit different. The username is Ascending Harvest without the final E, because the name itself was too long. So it's Ascending, then HARVST without the final E in the word harvest, because that becomes the handle. And we're going to start posting on there frequently, and we invite you to follow us so that we can share information with you as it comes up. And so we're doing it primarily also to connect with people. What we have found in our research is that connecting with celebrities, entertainers, philanthropists, influencers, those people who might support us in this venture can be best done via Twitter for many people. So we're establishing a Twitter presence and going for it so that we can establish those connections that will really help move this project forward. And if you're not out there writing stuff down, go to our Facebook page, because I just made a couple of posts about an hour ago inviting you to like our YouTube channel and inviting you to follow us on Twitter. YouTube channel, by the way, just a word, it takes 100 subscribers in order for us to get a custom URL. We want to get the Ascending Harvest YouTube URL. So please go to our Facebook page, click through that link, because I can't give you the URL because it's like 30 random characters after the word YouTube. But you can click on the link that's in our Ascending Harvest Facebook page and get to that and follow us, subscribe to us, and so we can get that URL. We really do appreciate that. In the last few days, we have talked about the what and the why of this particular program, this company. We've talked about crowdfunding and why we selected the Indiegogo platform and talked a little bit about that. Yesterday, we talked about, what did we talk about yesterday? Oh, we talked about the art and science of bringing products to market. We talked about the stages of concept, prototype, low volume manufacturing, etc. Shane gave us a lot of great information from his years of creating dozens of systems and going through that process of bringing a product to market, which is complex, time-consuming, challenging, and it really does take a lot of experience to do it well and do it effectively, and Shane has that experience. Today we're going to let Shane talk a lot more, and we're going to talk about the challenges that those families we want to support have in growing their own food. I mean, you think off the top of your head, well, why don't they just start a garden? And the answer is, it ain't easy where they are, and there's lots and lots of problems and challenges they have to overcome in order to grow their own food, all of which we are focused and determined to overcome with them with Ascending Harvest. So everything I know about the challenges those families face, I learned from Shane. So instead of hearing it from me, I'm going to let you hear it directly from him. Shane, take it away, brother.
So, yeah, you bring up a really important point here. There are significant challenges for people to be able to grow their own food. And I started studying this problem 30 years ago because coming from a background and a family that we grew our own food, it didn't make sense to me that there was places in the world where people are not growing their own food. It didn't equate. I couldn't understand why that there was such a barrier there. And so as I studied this problem, the levels of complexity are far too complex for us to go through in any detail today, but let's start with history. So Africa, for the most part, and I don't know of any place in Africa that was not colonized. It wasn't part of somebody's empire. The French, the British, the Germans, they all had empire. They all claimed parts of Africa. In fact, there's a few countries in Africa where the boundaries are just crazy. Like, how did those boundaries even exist? There's a country, I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head, that goes along a river, and its boundaries are 30 miles either side of that river. And, you know, how does a country like that get formed? Well, it gets formed by an fundamentally imperialist way of creating larger and more prosperous nations back in the history of the world, each of them going and carving out their piece of Africa. And that created artificial borders and put cultures together and separated cultures in ways that are not natural. So we have that one. So you have a huge political issue of people who have been under imperial rule, lost their land, lost their ability to have ownership, and because that ownership was claimed by a foreign power. So you have that long history there. Then you have them regaining their power, essentially becoming a sovereign nation again. And all of the levels and layers of corruption, because when you have not established your own rules, as we've learned from history, when people come back from being imperialized and under somebody else's control, they don't necessarily know how to set up the best forms of government. And there's a lot of people jockeying for power positions. So you have all these dynamics of history and power struggles. During that time, there were other people deciding what people did, how they made their living, who they worked for, and there's many people who lost the art of farming through just that. But the political turmoil, the cultural turmoil, the poverty, these are things that are barriers to farming. Farming is a long game. Yep. You plant, you nurture, and then you harvest. It's not like cooking your next meal. You're planning your meal 3 months from now. And if you are in survival mode, and if there is political turmoil, cultural turmoil, jockeying for power, leaders in your community that don't actually give you the opportunity to grow your own food, then you have these barriers that prevent you from even starting. And generations of people not starting, you lose the art of farming. And I say the art of farming because farming is not something you can learn in a weekend. You can learn some tips and tricks, and there's some things you can do, but preparing soil is also a long game. I consult with organic farms and permaculture farmers, and I walk their land and I teach them how to leverage the resources that they have. And I talk to them about amending their soil and building their soil and how to redevelop their soil and how to use the resources available. And it's not a it's not an easy thing to accomplish. And if you're going to have successful crops, you need to have these long-term goals. You need to have the knowledge of what to do, what sequence to do them in, and you have to have the resources. Many of the areas that we hope to support are in very arid sub-Saharan Africa, where they don't have abundant water available to them to water crops. It's some of the other issues that they deal with are things that we don't really deal with, so it's kind of hard to comprehend. One of the examples, and I've been told many of these examples since we've started this, of people coming to me and saying, Shane, listen to my story and the experience that I have been connected with and why this is such a struggle and why what you're doing is so important. So, for example, governments, NGOs, they like to attach themselves to large projects. And they don't like doing small projects. These large projects, they can move a lot of money, they can move a lot of resources. There's lots of things for people to tip their hat to and say, yeah, I had a part in that. Small initiatives and projects don't attract that kind of attention, so they don't get the opportunities that they should. So you have these large projects. I'm just going to recount one. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. But here's a project that got started successfully. Some people went over and taught some African locals how to start successfully farming. They put a lot of effort and energy into it, and they set them up so that they were self-sufficient in it. After they left, the local government came in and said, oh, you don't know how to manage projects. We're going to take over managing the project. So as soon as those people lost their ownership in that project, the whole thing collapsed and they walked away.
Wow.
Just because of the mindset of a government entity wanting to take control. And that's something in these developing countries, people who are hoping to make a difference and sometimes with good intentions, they step into projects and try to take them over and thereby lose the buy-in that the local people had in that project.
Wow. Shane, that really makes me think about how we really have it so good here where you and I live, and where I'm sure most of the people who are listening to this live. If we decide to start a little garden out in our backyard or wherever, we can go, buy some pots or just dig in our own ground. We can go get potting soil and fertilizer from the home and garden store. We can get plants that have already started, little starter plants. And, we in an afternoon can set up a garden with 20 plants that are just starting to grow in nutrient-rich materials and soil. And, and our job is so much easier. It's hard for me to think about how difficult it might be to even think about having your own garden and growing your own food in places where those supplies are not available, and in places where, where there's not a lot of water and there's not a lot of equipment, and we don't have the freedom, that we don't have a local government. Our city is not likely to come in and say, Shane, I see you started a garden, we'd like to take that over. You need to do it, follow our rules, and by the way, we get, half the harvest and all of that sort of stuff. So we really have it blessed here, and it's hard to imagine the challenges and the difficulties that the families we want to support have in their lives.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Breaking new, fresh ground, even if you have fertile soil, if you're going to break new, fresh ground, you have certain cover crops and preparatory crops that you have to plant to get that ground ready to be productive for the food crop that you want to grow. Farming is a long game, particularly if you're breaking fresh ground where it hasn't been farmed or it hasn't been farmed for a long time. That is a barrier to entry that only an experienced farmer or a hobbyist would pursue.
And so talk to the people here about how our systems overcome those challenges.
Well, the number one way that we overcome those challenges is that our system has all of the intelligence contained within the system. So as a farmer, as someone who, I might add, I created this selfishly. Early in my life, my career and the fact that I traveled a lot for my career prevented me from growing a traditional garden. So I started studying methods of how could I grow my own food if I'm gone for weeks at a time? How can I grow my own food? How can I provide the water when I'm gone? And all these issues that I struggled with. And over the years, I learned about more and more technologies. I developed technologies. I developed systems. And I really became interested in the system side of farming, which is what I've specialized in. What our system does is it gives that plant everything that it needs to get started, including the accurate dosing of water for the root system. So people don't have to know how much water to give it. They just need to fill the system with water. We circulate the water and nutrients through air power, so they don't have to have electricity. We include the nutrient starter kit that they mix in there that allows that plant to get a good start and have the nutrient and minerals that it needs. And then our system biologically processes organic material to turn it into plant food. So they don't have to have follow-up with prepackaged fertilizers and nutrients for their plants. They simply need to add non-toxic plants as organic material, basically compost material. They put that in there once a week. So we overcome many of these barriers with those 3 simple steps. And just as importantly, we've done this extremely economically so that these are not only affordable, but they actually can turn a profit in the African economy for a user. Now, Paul, you're a business specialist, so I think that you could speak very well to the fact that much of the equipment that we use for farming cannot be sustainable over the long term in an African economy. Would you want to touch on that?
Well, I'll hit that kind of indirectly. Certainly the equipment that we have, will never make it to the people that we want to provide it to because of what you addressed earlier, the corruption in the distribution chain and the lack of profitability for companies who can afford it. Those are the 2 big problems, 2 additional problems that we wanted to overcome with this particular system, with this particular company. Number 1 is getting the products to the families. There's such corruption in the distribution chain that, as you talked about in one of our earlier podcasts, if we had created a system that relied on solar power that had some technology associated with it, it would have never made it to the families because, it would have been trapped at customs or it would have been stolen, somewhere along the way in the delivery cycle. If it's too big, it's going to not make it to the families. So we've found systems that are of an appropriate size that they can be delivered by existing aid organizations and by existing volunteers who are already connected to the families that we want to serve. So coming in with traditional electronic or larger equipment kind of technology, is never going to make it to those families in the first place. And making it economical as we do allows aid organizations, to use this as one of their ways of helping people. And in this particular case, instead of buying $40 worth of food for them, we give them a $40 system which can generate $100, $150, $200 worth of food over the life of the system, which gives those donation dollars a much greater return on the investment than does just giving somebody food. It's the classic example of, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, then you feed him for a lifetime. Ours isn't quite a lifetime. Our systems do have some sort of a life to them, but a lot of the components of the system are replaceable. So, after some things wear out, the pumping bottles can be replaced with local recyclables, and other components in the systems can be replaced very easily as well. So we've really, I say we, Shane has really put a lot of forethought into creating a system and creating a company that can actually work, that can actually deliver these high-powered, extremely efficient, extremely inexpensive growing systems to the families who need them most.
Yeah, I'm sorry I blindsided you with that question.
All right.
What I was getting to is that the traditional farming that we've evolved to in the U.S. and in Europe and in other developed parts of the world simply cannot function in these developing communities. That would be like trying to start an Uber business with a Rolls Royce. You're never going to pay for that Rolls Royce. So the only way that you can sustain an Uber business with a Rolls Royce is if you have a rich uncle. So those initiatives that include tractors and farming implements and fertilizers and the things that we have become accustomed to farming in the developed world cannot function without that rich uncle. And that rich uncle is us continuing to pour money into aid. We can intervene in that. These developing places, they need to start their farming from a more primitive start point for it to be sustainable. Their economy won't support anything else. And so we are essentially giving them a high level of technology very inexpensively that actually can sustain itself in their economy. And because it's going to each individual, those individuals are self-empowered, and that is less likely to become corrupted as the community initiatives and the large-scale initiatives that typically go in to alleviate hunger that need continuous input and follow-up.
Yeah. I have this dream of putting 10,000 of these systems in a refugee camp or a small community so that everybody is growing their own food. And our family's growing tomatoes, and the family next door is growing eggplants, and the family across the way is growing cucumbers. And we share the harvest with each other and really develop a barter system that lifts entire communities up. That's right. The vision, that's the goal. Shane's done a really good job of talking about the challenges that he has seen in helping people learn how to farm and garden in the first place, and how we are overcoming those challenges with the design of the system that we have to put in place. So thanks a lot. If you hear this and listening to this and you have any questions, feel free to ask a question on the post that's in our Ascending Harvest Facebook page, and interact with us, because that's what we really want. We want to share this. We have decades worth of gardening and farming wisdom in the body of Shane to share with you, and decades of business experience from both of us to share with you as well. So way to go, Shane. I appreciate you sharing with the crowd, and I learn something every time I listen to you talk about the challenges of gardening and harvesting. We're about ready to come to a wrap today, but I want to remind you of a few things, and then we're going to do a prize drawing. Please go to ascendingharvest.com, our website, sign up to get progress reports and daily updates. And when you do, you'll be entered into prize drawings that we're going to do here for a little bit. Also go to our Twitter page at Ascending Harvest without the final E. Now click on the post that's in the Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can get up to 100 likes, so that we can get a custom URL that makes sense for everybody, and participate with us. And think about that crowdfunding campaign that we've got coming up in a few short weeks, where we hope to raise enough, well, not hope, but we are confident that we are going to raise sufficient monies to take this project to the next level, to get us in front of large aid organizations in Washington, D.C. and other places who can possibly give us grants of $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 and allow us to put these systems in the hands of families. So do all that stuff, and now we're going to draw for a little prize. Talk to people about the prize drawing, Shane.
So every day we have been giving away one of our systems. So if you would like to experience this technology for yourself, or if you'd like to donate it to someone in need, then here's your opportunity. Go to ascendingharvest.com, sign up, you'll be entered. In today's drawing, everybody that's entered up till now is available for that, and you can get a system and you can grow your own food.
Very good. And in days to come, we've got some wonderful sponsors who've given us some marvelous gifts, and we're going to give away some of those kind of at random. So be sure to stay tuned. Be sure to sign up. We have gifts worth many thousands of dollars that we're going to be drawing for, in addition to being able to draw for one of our systems every single day. So, Shane, with that, let's commence with the drawing. Please go into your system and select a random number between 0 and 10,000, and I'm going to plug that into my system, where we've taken everybody who's signed up so far and assigned them a random number, and we'll come up with today's winner.
Okay, so there we are. Don't know if you can see this. The number is 17.
17. Well, that's going to be pretty easy to come up with, because that's like the first person on our list. Hang on just a second. I got to redo this formula, but I'm sure that that's the first person on our list. It is. The first person on our list is Lori Westfall. His first name spelled L-O-R-E. I trust that it's pronounced Lori, or Lore Westfall. Congratulations, you're the winner of an Ascending Harvest Human Powered Hydroponics growing system, which we'll deliver to you when we begin to manufacture these things for real, probably in Q1 2019. At the time we do, you can take that for yourself, put it on your balcony, give it to a friend, put it in a place where you don't have electricity but still want to have a little garden, or you can donate it to a family across the world who may need that system a little bit more than you do. So congratulations to Lori Westfall. We'll be sending you an email very quickly and let you know of your award. And for the rest of you, we'd love to have the chance to give you a system as well. So as we've said many times, go to ascendingharvest.com, sign up for our list. We'll put you in the prize drawing every single day and give you an occasional progress update on the entire project via email. So with that, I think I'm ready to call it a day. It's been about 30 minutes or so. So thank you again for joining Shane and I on this daily update to Ascending Harvest. We really do appreciate you being a part of our team in our humanitarian venture, to help the world, to make a little bit of a ding in the universe.
Yes, and please share. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Talk to you on Monday. We'll talk again. Thanks so much. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.